You're a wizard, Harry.
I'm a what?
Can you believe it's been 20 years since the first Harry Potter film came out?
Oh my God. That's just, I can't actually conceive that because I don't feel that old.
It's weird because, in a way, it feels like it's been around forever. Although 20 years seems like a long time when you compare it with our ages.
Yeah, it is. It's like 2/3 of our life, pretty much.
Of yours, anyway.
Of mine, yeah. Thank you for that.
So, yeah, we've been looking forward to this for quite a long time. And I think it was one of the first things we mentioned when we were talking about doing a podcast, but we put it off because we thought, we've got to wait for an anniversary.
Yeah.
So we're finally here. We're going to be looking at the complete Harry Potter franchise.
In great detail.
In very great detail. It's a 4-part series that we're doing. It's a comprehensive look at the films and the filmmaking with lots of different elements to it. Not only are we going to be reviewing the films across the 4 episodes, but we're also going to be looking in depth at things like how they adapted the books, how the films evolved, the casting of it, what the lasting legacy of it is, and we're going to do lots of top 10 lists. Should take a breath at some point about deleted scenes and all sorts. In this episode, we're going to be looking at the very beginning, the process of adapting the books to the films, and at the end, we'll be talking about our favourite deleted scenes as well.
We will.
I can take a breath now.
Yes.
No time like the present.
Yes, let's start with where it all began.
Yeah.
Let the feast begin.
They started in the late 90s. Obviously, the book was released, it was 97, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think by this point, the third one was just coming out or was about to come out.
Yeah, so it was, and it was quite clear, I think, at the time that it was becoming a huge thing. I don't think it wasn't anywhere near the phenomenon that it became once the 4th book and the 5th book came out.
No, but still big in terms of book success for kids, I think.
Yeah, it was starting to become something that people hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
Just the fact that it was going to be made into a film was a big deal.
Yeah.
They were looking for the best, highest quality, best actors, best people to do the job, basically. Yeah. And knew that it was going to be quite a difficult process because, well, not only is it a book about magic, which, let's face it, at the time, visual effects and special effects weren't where they are now.
Not that advanced. No.
And also, the majority of the work is all with kids, which is very difficult. It's interesting when you look at this because when you think about most filmmaking, you're looking at maybe a long one would be 3 months, 4 months. But these were like 11 months.
10, 11 months
yeah,
each.
So it was investing your entire year or more into this process. And that's just the filming. That's not like pre-production and post.
It was almost in that respect a bit of an experiment or at least a challenge. And one of the other things as well is that at this point, obviously, because not all the books had come out, I don't think they necessarily knew if they were going to be doing a full series of films.
Exactly.
I think there was a time where they thought, we'll just take the first 2 or 3, a bit like A Series of Unfortunate Events did.
I mean, at the time, when you look back, knowing what the books became, The Goblet of Fire wasn't even out yet.
No.
The 3rd one had come out, but the scale is so much smaller. It's all at Hogwarts. It's all kind of contained. In a way, it's like completely simplified when when you get to the Goblet of Fire, it completely opens up. The scope is huge.
Very adult as well.
Yeah, so they didn't know that going in.
No, absolutely not. With J.K. Rowling's influence then at these early stages was crucial. And quite interesting in a way because she couldn't necessarily tell everybody what was going to happen, but she had to advise and guide subtly to make them know when they were and weren't on the right path.
Yeah. I know the only one she did tell, I think, was Alan Rickman.
Yeah.
Because she knew he needed to know so that he knew what his character was going to be. But other than that, I think it was like extremely vague.
But she had to be a consultant the whole way through, didn't she?
Yeah.
Even things like, people didn't know what Quidditch looked like. She had to be there to describe these things that she just imagined and was very good at writing on paper, but making it look right and making it look real.
I think what's amazing about her, and I'm not saying other writers don't do it, But the screenwriter was saying, they'd ask questions about things and she knew every detail. Like she hadn't just written it down on paper and said,
No.
oh, well, like there's 10 uses for dragon's blood, they said. And she knew every 10. Like other authors would write it down, but they wouldn't know what all of the 10 uses were.
She'd lived it, hadn't she, for about 10 years.
She'd created the entire world and knew every detail of it back to front. I think that's quite rare. And I think that has a lot to do with the success. She didn't just devise these stories, she created an entire world.
Yeah. One of the things I like, a very conscious decision to root it in a sort of reality. And I think in a way you've kind of got to have your realistic or normal world reference point in order to make the magic more magic.
Yeah.
If we wanted to put it in the podcast, like since we started, there's a word called verisimilitude, and it's just about things feeling real, even if in the world you're actually looking at, it's not real. It's that perception of it.
That's something I noted actually straight away when like that opening scene, it's at the Dursleys, it's on an estate, just a normal estate. You could live there. Yeah. It just looks like any normal house.
And then woman becomes cat.
Yeah, it's, cat becomes woman.
Oh, yes. Or vice versa,
So that was something like they literally distinguish straight away the normality of the world. It's a normal street, and yet then you start to see like little things, very small, like the lights popping out, and and you've got the shadow. You haven't actually seen the magic yet. You just see the shadow of her transforming into a woman, and then you start getting the owls and the letters. Even the letters look a little bit otherworldly. Yeah. They're not like normal.
We kind of see it as the Muggles see it. And I remember in the book, that first episode, it's just following Vernon throughout the day, pretty much, isn't it? He's just seeing people in weird clothes all of a sudden, and that cat on the corner. There's the very slight little differences, and then all of a sudden we're in Harry's shoes instead. Yeah, from Muggle to wizard, and then we go in that direction. And
that was so important. Again, as well, you see everything through Harry's eyes, and that'll become more important as we go through the series. Because it very much decided what they were going to put into the films from the books. Yeah.
One thing I think as well that will encompass everything we do is that drive to make it very faithful to the books. And I know J.K. Rowling was on board anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
But this first script, it took all four of them. So J.K. Rowling, Steve Clovis, the screenwriter, an American, which is unusual because she wanted it to be so British. And then obviously the director of the first two, Chris Columbus, also American, and David Heyman, the producer. So it took four of them to just sit down and work out, what do we do?
And yet it was Chris Columbus who said that he wanted a completely British cast. Yeah. Which just goes to show the crucial foundation decisions that they made from the beginning. Chris Columbus, I think he doesn't get enough credit for what he did.
No, I agree
because without the decisions that he made right from the start, that's the basis. That's your foundation. That's where you're starting from. Nothing else would have come from that. It would have been totally different. So what he did was so important.
But he was also under so much pressure as well.
Oh, absolutely.
He was saying if I failed or if I was wrong about any of the decisions, the franchise was dead. It was a lot on his shoulders.
Absolutely. I think what's important to remember about the first two, because I always put the first two together because they just feel the same, and obviously that's got a lot to do with Chris Columbus.
Yeah, they're the same look and feel.
But like I say, it's so important that those two are the way they are, and it did a lot for where the series went. Going on, and there's an innocence to them that the others don't have.
Something else then, and it might be a good segue into talking about the first film, is John Williams as well.
Absolutely.
And so much of what we know and feel to be Harry Potter comes from what
those
he
first
wrote in
few
his
tinkling
music.
Notes.
Yeah, and I think he actually wrote that before seeing any of the footage because they needed some like promotional, back when it was just an image of an owl, and he didn't know anything, and he created the sound of magic, and it's what we associate now with anything to do with magic. And it's the first thing we hear, not just in the promotional material or the trailers, but the start of every film, and it's that doorway into the magic of the world. So I think that's a good place to.
We should jump straight into Philosopher's Stone. Now, what I will say, this one is as close an adaptation to a book that I think you can get.
Okay.
They pretty much, for the most part, kept everything in there. And the same for the second one as well. Both of those films, I think the size makes a really big difference. Even number 3 is extremely close, though they changed the tone a little bit.
One thing I noticed is that the films are very long, especially for kids' films as well.
They are.
And the fact that the books almost lended themselves really well to films because of the school year format. You know, it's not there's not a lot of jumping back and forth unless you count the time turner in the third one. But
that made it very difficult filming, though, because they literally they did 1 and 2 back to back because the kids were growing up too fast. So it had its difficulties. So Philosopher's Stone, like we've already said, they like straight away you jump into this normal world where magic is unbeknownst to to the Muggles. And I love watching even like the behind the scenes, like they built the houses for Privet Drive.
Not originally though, did they? They were actually on a street and then realised, we're going to need this.
They had a street and it wasn't going to work, so they built like both sides of the road. They built like 5 or 6 houses,
and they're still there. We've both been, haven't we, to the studio tour?
I mean, they built the houses. Like you can't conceive that kind of thing, but that goes to show what they were doing for the whole series in terms of locations and production design. I just don't think there's anything like it.
I like how they started off trying to make it all real locations, that they went to all these real places, but I think it's also great that they realised, we can't keep doing this, and it sort of became a studio production.
Yeah, they went all sorts of places, didn't they? They went to Durham Cathedral, and they were in Alnwick and Cambridge and Oxford and different places, especially to try and find places for Hogwarts.
Buildings, yeah. The Privet Drive set is great. It's weird that you'd build a set that's just so ordinary. Yeah. It's something funny about that.
One of the things that I think stands out when you're watching it is Diagon Alley. That's like the first time it opens up to show what's possible.
Purely Wizard World. I don't like what wizards and witches wear. I will not shy away from saying that. I mean, do they technically live, are they integrated into our world? I thought that was the point. And it's like, so why do they dress so out of
Well, that
touch?
world is completely their own, and that's what's so spectacular about Diagon Alley. There's no Muggles there. They don't have to hide in any way. They are completely who they are, and it's just for them. And Diagon Alley, I mean, that set is just incredible. I mean, they built every sign. I remember reading that they costumed each of the shop owners to be exactly like the shop that they owned, like so that they matched it. And I just thought the detail that they've gone into to
even if
that,
we would
that
never
you wouldn't
see
even
it.
see. We're just half of it you don't see. You don't see into the windows of everywhere. No. But yet they've created everything that she had in the books that she describes. It's all there.
There's some footage of her visiting that set. They even said she had a tear in her eye because she was just walking around thinking it's exactly... She probably thought it was better than what she imagined.
It's become real life, hasn't it? It's there in the flesh.
Very surreal for her if it's just been in her head this whole time and all of a sudden she can walk in the streets and touch the details.
The locations in the entire series are absolutely unbelievable. The level of detail that went into them and just the sheer creativity, mind-blowing.
It's masterful, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's another good thing the studio tour do, because every corner possible they'll just shove some props, just anything you can read it all and you can...
Because they made everything. They just literally made everything you could possibly think of. But it just makes it so real. I'm still upset I never got my letter. I'm still disappointed.
That's not good.
Part of you is convinced they've made it so real that there could be something like that out there.
Being 11.
Yeah.
I was just wondering about how rich was Harry. There's a massive pile of money in that vault.
Quite rich.
Were his parents that rich? I mean,
something I always thought was a little bit of a plot hole was that really when they died they were only 21. The pair of them. How did they make that much money?
I bet they were thieves or something. Human trafficking. Knew it.
They're very good at what they did, obviously.
But it's a funny thing about Harry in the books, because he goes from nothing to having, obviously he still has a horrible life, but he goes to having materially all he could ever want.
I think that's why the decision Dumbledore made was the best one because it completely grounded him as a
I wouldn't-
person. He
not
never
for long, I wouldn't say. Yeah, he does get a bit big-headed at times, but then again, I would have done as well. Because all of a sudden he's great at everything. You know, he was great at this, he was great at Quidditch, he's got loads of money.
he just was able to take to certain things because it was just, you know.
Well, he had the best of both worlds. Yeah, he had a bit of volley in him as well, didn't he?
Well, yeah, that probably made him slightly better at certain things as well.
Unfair advantage in Quidditch. I just thought, did he have to buy his own clothes? It didn't look like he had many clothes when he left the Dursleys.
Probably did.
I don't know.
Probably did.
I have lots of weird thoughts on that.
One of the great things that they did was use the steam train, the real train, you know, and actually took them out. And I just think it's incredible. That's a real train.
Yeah, I think it was important that it was real. You can tell the difference, so especially in 2001, if something wasn't really real, you knew it, you could accept it, but you knew, like, it's not really real.
That's one of the beauties of Harry Potter, I think, is they tried to do a lot of things practically.
Yeah.
There's a lot of visual effects in the movies, but there's a lot of practical stuff in them as well.
One of the visual effects in this bit is obviously running through the platform, and I actually saw a video of how they did this. It's basically there's no two sets. They don't cleverly cut between two sets. Harry literally runs alongside the Hogwarts Express with a visual effects painting of another train. Literally runs towards the camera, turns a corner, and then they just take that background off.
Yeah.
But it's so effective.
Yeah, all of the little things that they put together.
Yeah.
I think, again, like we were just talking about Hogwarts, that again, there's these moments in the first one. It's because you're following Harry's view, like we said, so you're at his level. But there are moments in the film, Diagon Alley was one of them, and Hogwarts is another, where they pull out and you just see this huge scale.
Yeah.
Yes, you're seeing all the little details that he's seeing, but look at it from here. You know, and you pull out and you're just like, wow.
That arrival at the castle is maybe the most iconic from the series. That's what everybody was waiting for, wasn't it? The first moment you get to Hogwarts. I did always wonder why they put the first years on the boats. And I guess I kind of get it now we've
Tradition.
just said it. Yeah, some kind of initiation for them, isn't it? And it's that welcome that you'd want.
Yeah. It's made all the better, like you said before, John Williams' score comes in there as well.
Yeah. I think if you'd watch this film without the music, it wouldn't be half as good. And that sounds awful because the films are made very well.
You can say that about a lot of films, most films. It's why the music's such a key element. People shouldn't forget
but it is
that.
Such a part of it, though, isn't it? It's not just filling in the silence.
Yeah.
It's actually a character in itself.
What's very grounding in this film as well is the school aspect itself. Now, in the books, they don't wear uniforms all the time, whereas they decided to make the choice to make it like a boarding school, you know. Yeah, and that grounds it a lot. And you get that in the sorting at the beginning, and it's very much has this very traditional British feel.
The idea of having houses as well.
Yeah, old school. I do have one gripe though about the sorting. It's pedantic. It's very silly, but it's always bothered me that they start with Hermione.
Yeah, it's not an alphabetical order, is it?
It's supposed to be an alphabetical order. Why would you just jump from G to like B to you know,
I wrote quite a few things about the sorting. One thing, you just said the robes. Like, they make them buy their robes without knowing what house they're going to be in. So do they magically change colour when they've got them? Or
wow, do you know, I've never thought of that ever.
Or is it just a spare pair that they just use for, like... It's a lot of money to spend on robes.
I've never thought that.
But I have a lot of questions. I mean, I've already skipped over quite a few because I thought I'll be here forever. But lots of questions about the logic. But that's
it. Blown my mind. That I've never in the whole 20 years thought
well, then
about
they say,
that.
and your belongings have been brought up, and they go upstairs, and it's like, oh, it's branded as Gryffindor now, but they're not the ones that I bought because I'm wearing the ones that I bought.
They must change.
It's one of those things.
It's magic. You can just do it.
Exactly. I was going to say at the beginning of the episode, I said, if I hear the excuse, well, it's magic, I'm not going to be happy. Another thing is, I thought, well, what if there's a really poor distribution, like an even distribution of houses? What if everyone's in Hufflepuff one year and they've got bench space?
I've thought about that a few
times.
Happens? You don't need to worry about these things.
I actually did my sorting. I thought I might be in Slytherin, but I did it yesterday and I'm in Ravenclaw, so I'm with all the nutters like Luna and Trelawney.
I don't think that's supposed to be the point. They're all the smart people.
They have good views of the grounds, apparently, which I quite like.
Yeah, they're in one of the towers like Gryffindor.
I actually matched it up with the results of a different, proper psychology personality test, and it is right. Apparently,
Yeah, you must be very intelligent.
I'm a Ravenclaw architect, apparently.
Academic as well.
Yeah.
They're quite academic, the Ravenclaws. I haven't done it for a number of years, but I remember when I did do it, I got Gryffindor.
Yeah. Do you think it changes as you get older?
I don't know. I would doubt it because the foundation's the same. It's all of those key things that make you the person you are that would be why
Some
you
of
were
the
chosen.
questions are like, do you prefer dawn or dusk? And it's like,
Why does that
I might have
matter?
preferred dawn a few years ago, but I might like dusk now. I mean, does that change me? Yeah. So I got sorted into the birdhouse anyway.
One of the things I love about going back and watching the first film is just how many famous British faces there are. This is the best of British. This film and the rest of the franchise, because they did the same with the others. It is filled to the brim with the best British talent that the industry has to offer.
And funnily, a lot of them had to really be convinced to do it.
Yeah.
Until a few films later on, when every British actor wishes they were in it. And we'll talk about that a few episodes from now, but I just thought that was funny. Alan Rickman was one who needed convincing. Richard Harris was
Richard
another
Harris's granddaughter told him he had to do it or she would never speak
funny
to him
all
again.
The kids who had read the books were the ones pushing their granddads or uncles or whatever to just say
I suppose it makes sense though, doesn't it? Because it's a kids' film. Where's it going to take them? What's it matter? It's just a children's film.
Yeah.
It's based on books that kids read. I don't think anybody at that point knew what it was going to become.
Nobody did. No.
So, but what I was going to say, having that British cast there, not only does it make the kids better because they got to watch them and see how it was done, the best of the best, but also I think it gives the film like an automatic higher standard, higher quality.
Yeah, of course. But the thing is, it wasn't just the main. It was the cameos as well. Like you had John Cleese suddenly popping up.
Absolutely. And all of the main characters are given like their own introduction as well, which I think was good. You got your McGonagall moments, Snape and Dumbledore and Neville Longbottom and Malfoy. They all got their moment in the movie. Yeah. Not rushed either. I feel like it all came together very well.
Yeah. They knew we were going to spend a lot of time with them and that we'd have to really understand them from the bottom up, really.
Yeah.
What about flying?
Yeah, flying
subject?
and Quidditch. Yeah, I think this is where you've really got to like suspend your belief because how on earth she's come up with like an entire concept. Yes, there's flying and there's flying in other books, and like I always remember The Worst Witch when I was a kid and things like that. So,
Thursday afternoon after school, brilliant.
Yeah, but this takes it to a whole different level.
Yeah. How do you make broomstick logic work?
Yeah, and like there's always been one thing that bothers me about them learning to fly, and that was like, surely as a flying teacher, obviously it's not that simple. They're not all going to be just starting straight away and able to do it. There must be a lot of occurrences where there's a Neville moment.
Yeah,
surely,
absolutely. And
she should be able to stop that kind of thing happening.
It was faulty
as the flying teacher.
Yeah, the thing is though, the issue with Madam Hooch is that she's kind of, I like her. I love Zoe Wanamaker as well, but she's kind of useless.
She reminds me of a hawk. The way they made her eyes, like fly, almost like bird-like.
I never noticed. I mean, when the first film came out, I didn't really know her in other things. I hadn't realised how much they'd put the eagle eyes in. I think there's a rumour, I don't know if it's true or not, I've read it somewhere, that she's an animagus, like she was an eagle transformy person.
Oh, that I've not thought about that. Maybe.
But the other thing about Madam Hooch is that she's a shit referee. She's like, I want a nice clean game, and then she fucks off.
Yeah, and they're all like, they're beating each other, knocking each other out,
falling to their deaths.
I know, and clean game.
I put on Twitter that, that Homer Simpson meme where he just backs into a hedge when it was, and I just thought that's literally her when anything goes wrong in a Quidditch match.
I think it's just they're just very freeing, aren't they? They're just allowed to do whatever.
Just do what you want. We don't care if you die here.
Anything goes.
But at the beginning they'll tell you, oh, don't go here because you'll die, and don't go here because you'll die. But literally, if you do anything else, even walk up a staircase or look at a tree, you're probably going to die.
Now, Quidditch is incredible. I mean, people do this now. There are Quidditch games. It's a real game now. Yeah, people do it.
So funny.
But I just find it amazing that she created an entire new game with all
an actual sport with rules.
And it's incredible. And all of the teams as well. Like you find out that Ron supports the Chudley Cannons.
Yeah.
It's like just the detail, the level of detail is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But what the film did was bring that to life entirely.
Yeah.
The actual stadium, and
So fast paced as well. It's so quick.
it's one of the moments that doesn't hold up in the first film.
Yeah.
The
I think they
special
left it.
effects-
Did they leave it like right to the end or something? Or they ran over and they were literally having to like pre-visualize each shot, then film that section.
It's the weakest section in terms of special effects, I think, in the first film.
There's a few sort of rubber bodies on and like a bit. Same with Neville's bit, actually.
Yeah, but I still think that the Quidditch is this exhilarating sequence.
Yeah.
There's no taking away from that. And for the most part, I think the special effects do hold up. So I'm just moving on to the troll.
Yeah. I quite like the troll. If I'm honest.
I mean, it's not the greatest of special effects, but it holds up. It works.
Yeah, because it's meant to be kind of ugly. You know, I think it's kind of forgivable, the bits that aren't as good, but it has that character to it, doesn't it? It has that rubber quality of face, I suppose.
And then there's the invisibility cloak. Now that is an exceptional moment. That's just, I mean, in a way, it's probably quite simple to do. You know,
I was
you've
just
got
thinking that, literally film your background and have a green cloak.
Yeah, you know, and that's it, and simple as that.
I did wonder whether that cloak was big enough for 3 people, though. I have always continually thought that.
It was huge. It must have been huge because you could get all 3 of them underneath it without showing their feet when they were 11.
It used to say in the books that you could see their feet and stuff, didn't you?
Yeah. One of the great things about the franchise as a whole is that mix of practical and special effects. So you've got like the Mirror of Erised. That's obviously a practical prop with the special effects parts in, you know, it filmed his family and things like that. And it really makes the moments.
I quite like the mirror, actually.
Another moment I think it just looks amazing is the staircases.
Yeah.
You've got the staircases and the practical portraits and things like that, yet then you've got your effects of them all moving and you've got the staircases.
It's a nice blend, isn't it?
Yeah.
And a lot of the blending does work. I've just got a few things just on those last couple of topics. So, Troll in the dungeon. So why does Dumbledore send the Slytherins back to their dormitory? I mean, he really hates, like, this is going to be a running thing throughout the film as well. He hates Slytherins. He doesn't consider them whatsoever. And the other thing about the mirror, the naming of the Mirror of Erised, I just think, considering she did so much in terms of basing the names of things in mythology or, you know, some kind of etymology was involved. She just wrote desire backwards. I think
that's quite clever.
I don't think that's clever.
I always really like that. I was like, oh yeah.
But I think it just stands out because it's the only time she's really just been, I don't want to say she's been a bit lazy with it, but there's no meaning behind it. That annoys me.
One of the troll moments, for me, that's one of my favourite quotes. Troll in the dungeon.
Yeah, brilliant.
What you want to know? I just thought that was brilliant.
Oh, just one more question about the mirror. It was sat in a classroom till about Christmas, so where was the stone? Was it just sat on the floor?
I don't think that was a used classroom by the looks of things. It wasn't a used space.
It could have already been in the mirror, I suppose. Don't know.
Back to locations. Always have been really fascinated by the forest.
Oh, yes.
And they've changed it quite a bit over the films as well.
Yeah.
You see different parts of it, but it all works because you just can imagine this huge space.
They made it more monstrous as it went on as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Massive trunks.
Yeah.
Massive.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
roots everywhere. I quite like that.
Well, they've made it now, haven't they? Forbidden Forest,
Yeah,
Harry Potter. Now, I haven't seen it yet. I've not seen it
it's
since
very
they built that there.
atmospheric. It's very good.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that because I haven't seen that yet. And I always thought that was an incredible set to build.
Yeah,
the forest really as it is. That was fantastic.
The forest itself is strictly forbidden, obviously. So let's send the students there for detention.
Well, with Hagrid.
Not really. He said, right, you go with Draco and you go that way.
That's another line
like,
I love.
Okay.
Well, I want Fang. Okay, he's a bloody coward.
Yeah. Oh, bless him. We like Fang.
He is
standout
cute.
character.
Useless, but cute, very cute.
But it is a bit odd. I don't know whether that's Dumbledore being reckless, or is that Hagrid's fault for splitting them up? It's very unusual.
That's another great set as well, Hagrid's hut. Because I never realised at first that it's all built to scale. So when the
Right,
kids
yeah.
are sitting down, they're in these massive seats.
Yeah.
It's very clever.
Yeah, they
It's
do a lot with Hagrid, don't they?
yeah.
Even with him as a person. Sometimes it's a body double, sometimes he's on a box, sometimes they're just looking up.
Wasn't he an ex-rugby player or something, the guy that was
something like
doing
that.
the body double? And he actually wore a head,
The face of Hagrid.
the fake head.
And sometimes they have the animatronic hands, like these bee hands.
Yeah, so like when they were at the scene at the station, that's at Gothland. I've actually been there.
Oh, yeah.
And that was one of the times that they used the head
Mm-hmm.
because it was for the perception when they were
Yeah.
pulling out and you wanted to see, the size of him.
Do you mean the scene where Hagrid just leaves him and doesn't tell him how to get onto the train?
No, not that section.
Okay.
When they're outside at the end of the movie and they're leaving, and you see Hagrid waving to everybody.
At least he got him onto that train, okay.
That's the fake head. You can see, you can make out in certain scenes when it's the fake head. It's usually when they're further away.
First scene they shot as well.
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
And they realised that they couldn't have green eyes on Harry because he was allergic to contact lenses.
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah. I don't think it did anything to
it didn't detract,
upset
did it?
people.
No. Well, I think it upset some people, but
maybe
stupid
but
thing to
I
get
don't
upset
think
about.
it ever made that much of a difference, really.
Yeah.
A big moment for me, I think one of the standouts for me is going through the trapdoor. Once you get to that bit, it kind of goes up a level.
Yeah, I in the film itself, I don't think they make it very clear what their plan is for going in there. Are they trying to get the stone themselves? Are they just trying to stop someone else?
Yeah.
They kind of just go, we're going through the trapdoor tonight. And it's like, okay. But I've realised because they went down there, Voldemort had a chance.
As 11-year-olds, they probably didn't think it through that closely.
No.
They probably didn't sit down and say, right, this is what we're going to do, guys.
Yeah. They have that thing as well, though, where when Dumbledore's gone, and he's quite often gone, they have to just, they can't consult anyone, and they kind of go, right,
well,
we'll just
that was done on purpose, wasn't it? It was a fake note that got him out the way.
Ah.
See, they don't tell you
that in the
that,
book?
but it's in the book. Yeah. He got called away, and he got to the ministry and then realised that the place he needed to be was Hogwarts, so he came straight back.
For an all-knowing, powerful wizard, he doesn't know very much. A case in point, he can see through invisibility cloaks, but not through turbans. To be fair, that head was very well hidden under that turban. Part of me just thinks that he quite enjoys the madness of it all. Let's put Voldemort in a teaching position for a year and see what happens. Will Harry survive? Something like that. Oh, speaking of Voldemort in the forest, is that Quirrell stood backwards? And is it Voldemort drinking, or is it Quirrell drinking for him? And why can he fly?
I know, yeah, and I've never understood why he can fly. Why can he fly? He's just hovering away.
I just imagine Quirrell just being dragged around backwards, where we're going now.
There's certain parts that have always really bothered me, but I think that's because I'm so faithful to the books. Because the rules and the order of things and the way that you create the world, and then you see stuff in the film. We will get onto it, and I'll mention it again. But there's the way that sometimes they use magic, and you can't use magic outside of school.
Yeah,
what are you doing?
Rules.
You can't do that. She wouldn't have been able to fix his glasses in the first or the second movie because they're not at school.
That's true. That is true.
And they even make a point in the 5th book of him being expelled because he used magic outside of school.
Magic, yeah. One of the parts that is quite obviously removed from the book in the trapdoor bit is the potions task.
Yeah.
So it's kind of almost devised so that each one would have a task. Like Harry would catch the key, and Ron would do the chess, and Hermione would do the potions.
Yeah, I always wonder why they didn't put it in. I suppose, it's a long film already, so it would have been an extra 5 minutes.
I don't know if it would have been boring watching them work it out on film. It's nice when you read.
Yeah, you can understand why it's been done. But it would have been nice to see that. That would have been a good one. The chess set, I think. My God, did they pull that off?
One of the better ones, yeah.
But in the book, it's good, but that's one of the scenes where when they've brought it to life, it becomes something else entirely.
Yeah.
I really do think that's probably one of the best moments, I think.
And properly exploding them. It wasn't CGI for that, so you got the feeling that the stakes were quite high. Apart from when Ron falls off,
he
very dramatically.
He jumped off backwards.
I don't know why. He wasn't hurt.
I'm not sure.
I don't get that.
That wouldn't have helped. Jumping off it backwards, probably the worst thing you could possibly do because you're going to hurt yourself more.
That's probably the most dangerous, apparently, that the through the trapdoor task really got. But I did think about this afterwards. Getting the stone, actually, it's quite easy. You just play some music, chill on a plant, fly around, play chess, look in a mirror and touch a man. That's it.
Yeah, but if you think about it, on his own, Harry would never have made it because he didn't know what a devil's snare was.
No,
and he'd have just
that is
panicked
true.
and died.
Couldn't play chess.
Couldn't play chess, so probably would have lost and died.
Yeah. In that respect, yeah, they did need three people.
So he did, like, that's the beauty of it. Yes, Harry's always a good character, but I mean, Harry Potter's not my favourite character.
No, I wouldn't say
and
so.
he by no means can do all of the things that he can do on his own.
Mm-hmm.
And they show you that at the beginning. Harry's got a lot of great qualities, but he needs the other people in his life as well.
Yeah. Especially because, like, they've lived in, well, Hermione maybe not so much, but they've kind of known about.
I know, but she
world
read
so
it
much.
all. She's read it.
Course.
She's read everything. So she might not have lived it, but she's read all about it. So she's clued up. It's fine.
Yeah. Sort of near the end of the story now. The death of Quirrell. Kill him with love, Harry. Kill him with love.
I think, again, great effects.
Yeah, it's good.
It was really great. But I have this problem. You can't do magic without a wand. Yeah, he clicks his fingers and makes fire just start. And then he flies at him.
Still flying, yeah.
Parts of it that I have problems with. But again, it's all to do with the books. Because they don't do that in the books. You can't do that. So,
true.
But it's cinematic license, isn't it? This is what you've got to do. You've got to kind of separate the book from the film in a way. Otherwise, you're never going to be satisfied. Because you'll just constantly going, well, they don't do that in the book.
Did Quirrell never have a stutter? Was he literally just playing a part of someone who had...
Oh, no, he had a stutter.
Because he stopped doing it at the end.
He met Voldemort. And the story was that he'd had this terrible experience wherever he'd been. He'd met I think, did they say he'd met a vampire or something? He'd met something anyway, and then he came back and he was never the same.
Right.
And so
and that's what it was.
It played to the part.
It's just at the end he kind of made out as if he'd say, well, no one would have suspected me, and then imitated his own stutter a little bit. And I thought, well, did he never have one? Because if so, that's commitment. Oh, funny. And the very last bit then is Voldemort flies away.
Yes.
Typical. Oh, Dumbledore hates Slytherin's house cup.
I mean,
it's divisive, isn't it?
It's slightly unfair. But it probably is, I think, my favourite moment in the movie.
Okay.
That last bit in the hall when they award the points. It's great. All of them getting the points, but that 10 points for Neville. Oh.
That is a good, it's a great quote as well.
That's my moment.
Stand up to your friends kind of thing. Yeah, I like that.
That's absolutely fabulous.
But
I just think it's brilliant.
Really
but then, yes, I have my last gripe. Claps his hands and all the decorations change. You need a wand. You can't do magic without a wand.
I can see this coming up quite a lot.
It will, yeah.
My last burning questions just from the whole thing. How long was Hagrid planning on keeping that photo album? Like, how long did he have it? That's I'll just keep it till the end.
Just waiting for a good moment,
I think in the book Harry goes to Diagon Alley and then goes back to the Dursleys for a month, but in this one he goes to school in like July. It seems like he goes there straight away.
Each of the films, I think the beginning gets for me worse and worse, because that's the bit that seems to be it becomes rushed. Yeah, I feel that the further through the series you get.
Yeah, I feel bad for the cast of the Dursleys because they really didn't get to
shortchange,
do that much. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
never got to see any magic either.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things that changes the most from the book, because there's always a great introduction to the story in the books. I mean, the Goblet of Fire, the World Cup, it's huge. Yeah. That's a huge section of the book before you even get to Hogwarts. There's so much going on in the books before they even get there.
Yeah. It is nice though, isn't it, having some time to miss Hogwarts like that. I think for Harry to miss it, to feel like he really does miss it.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm not going home. Not really.
What we were going to do just before we do move on, for each film, we're going to pick our standout character, standout moment, and a standout quote from the film. So, in any order, really, what do you think?
Yeah, well, like I say, my moments, the awarding the points at the end, I do love that. Okay. That's
well done, Slytherin. Well done, Slytherin.
I also like the sequence in the hospital wing as well, where he's explaining to him like what's happening.
It's not, moments between him and Dumbledore are actually really nice, and you don't get enough of them in the film.
Which goes on to my standout character, which is Albus.
Standout corridor.
that was
corridor
half.
is
That was
exquisite.
half character, half Dumbledore, just put together.
Corridor. Oh, God.
So my standard character is Albus Dumbledore, without a doubt.
All right.
I
Okay.
think Richard Harris immediately understood the character, and I
Okay.
don't think it's an easy one to pull off. There's something about Albus Dumbledore that makes you gravitate towards him as a character.
Yeah. It's like a warmth.
He's calm and he's wise. Yet underneath that, you can feel this power. And Richard Harris completely got that, and they showed that in the Halloween scene. Like he's a quiet character, and then all of a sudden there's this power radiates from him. And Richard Harris completely got that.
Yeah.
And to be honest, you just can't take your eyes off him when he's on the screen. It's probably my biggest regret that he died and wasn't able to complete the series, because I never ever got on board with Michael Gambon.
Right. Yeah. That's what you mean.
I wanted to see Richard Harris do the films.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. What about a quote? You've got a quote that you like?
Oh, so many.
There's
I wrote down
lots in this
so
one.
many.
Yeah, they scripted a lot of good lines.
I love with the troll, 5 points will be awarded to each of you for sheer dumb luck.
Yeah.
Love that. You've got dirt on your nose, by the way. Did you know? Great introduction to the character. I think that's great. And Harry and Hagrid, maybe if you wrote it down. No, I can't spell it.
I can't spell it. I wrote that as one of them. Yeah, I think my standout quote would be it would make the drinker immortal. And he goes, immortal? It means you'll never die. I know what it means. I think that's probably my favourite one. But I also like Filch.
Yeah, Filch is great.
I like, God, I Mr. Screaming.
I
think Filch is a great character, actually.
And Hermione's got some good lines as well. Could have been killed or worse, expelled.
Yeah, great scripting.
Fantastic. And McGonagall, all the way through the series, she's got some good ones. I love her when she transforms back into herself in the classroom. He's like, bloody brilliant. Well, thank you for that assessment, Mr. Weasley.
Yeah, she doesn't ever really tell people off, but she'll have a dig.
Yeah, she has some great moments. Like this moment where you think she's going to do something and she doesn't. She's just the opposite. And
that's very
you do
Maggie
know
Smith as well.
she really cares. You can tell.
Yeah,
she's no nonsense, completely no nonsense. But you can tell deep down she really does care about them.
Yeah, she's nice.
And you see that more as it goes on. She's a great character, actually.
I'm going to say my standout character for this one, and I actually thought Hermione was really good. I know she's super annoying, but she's really good in this one. So I nearly put her, but I thought Snape. Everyone, feared Snape. Yeah. I think that's a really good character with not a lot to say and not necessarily a lot to do.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. He doesn't do it. He doesn't do a lot, but you remember him.
But also Petunia. I really like Fiona Shaw as Aunt Petunia. I just think she was really good.
Yeah.
Filch, Hagrid, I like them both as well. I think it's the picking the favourite moment that I really struggled with. I went for this one in the end because I think I associate it with the beginning of it all, I think. Yeah. And it's the letters coming through the fireplace.
Yeah.
It's the first time you really see magic properly infiltrate normality. And it was done like really well and really practically, and yeah, I like it.
There's so many frigging letters going around that room. Why doesn't he just grab one and put it in his trousers?
Just grab one.
I mean, you don't have to be like trying to get the ones out of the air. They're on the floor. There's thousands of them.
Yeah.
And why would you pick up just one? Pick a load. Put them down your pants,
Yeah, hide one for later.
Yeah,
and
didn't do that very well.
No. So yeah, it's going to be a long series this. Let's keep going.
So jumping onto the Chamber of Secrets.
Where have you been?
We put a poll up, didn't we? About the two films. I think, again, it's very much how I feel. So did it end 50-50?
Of course it did, yeah. All of my polls end 50-50.
Yeah, so it was which film do you like better?
Yeah, which
film is better? And it just remained 50-50. I think it's because both of these first films, they come hand in hand.
Yeah, they could have been filmed in one and you could watch it straight through.
Yeah, they have exactly the same tone. Yes, this one's a bit darker, I think.
Yeah, but both mysteries, aren't they? They're both mystery and genre.
But magical, absolutely. This innocent, magical feeling you get from the first few.
Yeah.
Very nostalgic, the first two films made me feel, whereas the others don't.
The second one, I think, was maybe the most in terms of anticipation because it's the first time we were going back. I remember really the second film came out thinking, what are they going to do? More so than the
Yeah.
first time around. It's like, what are they going to do next? What's the next piece of the puzzle? It's like unraveling like the packet on a Wonka bar and seeing the golden ticket bit by bit. It's kind of like
it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And
Yeah.
this one, again, the scale
Yeah.
changes and it expands.
Yeah, the whole world, we're given the next bit. Yeah, it's like colouring in a book. Sorry, I'm just keep doing all these metaphors. It's like similes or whatever. Yeah, it's like colouring in the picture.
Yeah.
So I really like in this one the opening shot, the Warner Brothers logo's in the sky, and then we come down over Surrey. First time I've looked at it and gone, oh wow, yeah, it's proper like CGI shot right into Harry's window. I love
it's
it.
so fascinating to see how they've expanded the world. Like, you see the Burrow, the Weasley's home.
Yeah.
And that's the first time that you're seeing a proper witch and wizard home, not a muggle home. This is how witches and wizards live.
And they made everything without a single straight line.
Yeah, full to the brim with props and things you wouldn't even notice is in there, and there's so many practical effects in there as well. The knitting needles, and you can see all them at the Harry Potter studio tour and what they created.
That's a good part of that. Yeah, we get loads of internal ones, don't we? We get the greenhouses, the girls' bathroom, Dumbledore's office is another great one. Comes in two parts really, because you've got the outside and the inside.
And then you've got the flu powder. Then you see the realms of possibility, like the scope of the world, and how things function. Oh, right, so this is how they get around. And I like little things like that.
Harry didn't go very far, really, considering you said the wrong words.
I'd like to know how he even got there, because it didn't sound anything like Nocturne Alley.
Yeah, the Weasleys kind of underestimated how little Harry knows about the world there. But I think we ought to talk about the Weasleys, really, because that's the first time we've seen them as a full family unit.
Well, almost full family unit.
Oh, of course, because there's 900
You never
children.
ever meet Charlie.
No, not in the end.
Which is a bit strange.
I have just a few questions. Why do they own a car in the first place? I just thought I'd put that one out. I know
because
he's
a
Muggles.
muggle nut, isn't he? So that's why.
Just a bit odd, seeing as they've got flu powder and they can apparate and all that stuff. Just thought,
yeah.
Oh well. Why was Ginny's jumper on a cat? I have many questions. Yes, it was on the cat.
Why not?
Ron never mentioned his dad worked at the ministry before. That's another one.
Well, again, this is
Exposition.
Another thing. It opens up, doesn't it? It opens it up.
Being picky. I've got to say, Julie Walters and Mark Williams, perfect. Great
Fabulous.
choices.
Again, the casting.
Yeah. When this came out, I didn't know too much about Julie Walters. I've done a lot of watching of Julie Walters ever since
then,
obviously. And Celia Imrie ought to have been in these films as well. Just putting that there.
Yes.
The comic genius of Julie Walters, as well as being a really warm and well-rounded character for the amount of screen time that she got. I think she's really good. And Mark Williams, the whole how'd it go? Just so funny. They were given a lot of great moments.
Both comedians as well, which is great for the characters. But I think most characters, because the franchise is so big, there's a lot of overlooking of things. I wouldn't say shortchanged in every respect, but it still feels like you're missing things. But
every character feels like you want to know everything.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you, how do you feel about the financial situation? It's alluded to, but it's not made a focus. I know they kind of look at the books and say, we'll manage, and then there's times where his robes are mentioned.
It's important to note, because obviously they mention it in the first one as well, hand-me-down robes, you must be a Weasley,
It does feed into a lot of the themes that come into the film, in this one especially because of the parallel with the Malfoys.
I think it's important that they put it in there because it shows that yes, they've got magic and things are different, but really it's a class structure like every other.
It's no different,
you get rich and poor of everything. You get good and bad even in that world as well, and it's a more of realistic point. It very much makes up who Ron is as a person as well. Like it's like what he sees in the mirror in the first one. He's very much feels overlooked because they're a very big family and they don't have a lot of money. So
and he's got brothers on Quidditch teams. He's got brothers who are
things he would like
prefects
to have that he doesn't have, and and he's competing for time.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way actually.
So it's very much part of his foundations and who they are as a family. Like they've got nothing, but they'll give you anything.
Yeah. They are good. And Harry's like an honorary member in the end, isn't he? He sort of
Oh, yeah,
becomes-
very much so,
That's
yeah.
the first family he really kind of knows,
Oh,
full family.
absolutely.
Let's look at, just briefly, while we're in Nocturne Alley and Diagon Alley, the actual final cut of this film, Nocturne Alley is a bit pointless because nothing happens. But in the
Yeah.
deleted scenes, there is a scene where Draco and Lucius Malfoy come in. Ministry are doing raids, and he starts selling stuff.
Yeah, that's in the book. There is that scene in the book. He spends a bit of time there.
Yeah. But otherwise, he just kind of leaves, and there's all these druggies and prostitutes on Nocturne Alley. Not lost, are you, my dear?
I mean, it's kind of scary. Why are they all going up to him like that? I don't
know.
understand. What were they going to do?
I don't know.
You know,
It's very odd.
yeah. And
Yeah.
obviously that introduces us to the Malfoys.
Yes.
I mean,
not nice people.
It's another one of those where you just think casting. Jason Isaacs,
Brilliant.
he is
I've always loved Jason Isaacs.
absolutely fantastic in this.
Yeah.
And my God, can that man play evil?
I think both of them here were particularly nasty. Maybe the nastiest they are in the whole series.
Yeah.
But it's this racism thing. All of a sudden, it
Yeah,
stopped being
absolutely.
like pranks and little name calling.
Yeah.
But this is actually proper insulting.
Yeah.
And they do
Class
quite
and
a
race
lot.
come into it so
Yeah.
much more. Yeah.
Especially head on with the Weasleys, that kind of confrontation they have, and with Hermione's
Yeah.
muggle-born parents. And this is planting the seed really for so much that's going to come later
Yeah.
on, like Lucius's ideology. And at this point, we don't really join the dots that he's a follower of Voldemort as such. They don't say that,
Yeah.
or that he's a Death Eater or
You
anything
can
like
guess, though.
that. You can guess,
You
but
can
at this
make a
early
good
stage, we didn't
guess.
know anything about Death Eaters, stuff like that.
No, we didn't.
But you get enough of it from what he says. I just think that him in particular, I mean, we'll get onto the full plot of what happens in terms of the Chamber of Secrets, but all the stuff he does with the diary and the carnage
Yeah.
that he's thinking of causing to children, deaths of children.
Well, he just sees again. It's a bit like Nazism, and
yeah.
getting rid of eradicating Jews. That's what he's trying to do.
That's what the films become, the Holocaust, don't they?
Yeah,
That's exactly what it becomes.
That's how he sees it. He doesn't see it as children. He just sees them as like, well, it's getting rid of these half bloods.
That's infused in Draco as well. He's spitting out these mudblood words, and we even see him stealing at one point. He even says he wishes Hermione dies next. Do you know what I mean? He's not.
And
he's really
nasty
not
piece
nice.
of work.
Yeah,
nasty piece of work.
But Ron's got a slug curse for him, so that's nice.
Yeah, he does. I think
work.
one of the like you were saying before that there's things that just you think about when you think about certain films. For me, the flying car sequence is that.
Yeah.
For this film, is very much something
Like,
that
how are
I
they gonna
think
do it?
about when I think about the second movie.
Yeah.
It's always irritated me that they go to the car.
Yeah,
I
even
mean-
Harry says, "Why don't we just wait?"
Yeah,
What
I
universe
mean,
did they think that was
they
gonna
would
be?
have come back out in like 2 minutes. Just wait. Why do you need to go take the car?
And it's not as if like Dumbledore wouldn't have believed Weasley parents if one of their 900 children didn't get there because of a wall. I'm sure they would have
so-
been okay.
But the actual making of that scene, the train, the bridge, the huge scope of that,
Yeah.
and then the Whomping Willow to end it at the end of that sequence, I think is brilliant.
Yeah, and again, subtly introducing things that will be more important
Yeah,
later in this film, but also later in other films as well. I quite like that. But none of this would have happened if it weren't for fucking Dobby.
I know.
Like,
Dobby.
Dobby,
Oh.
I don't really know how good of an elf Dobby is, if I'm honest. I don't think he's really a very good friend, if I'm honest. I think he's slightly evil.
Oh no, I love Dobby.
He obviously knew. I mean, it took me a while to actually click this time. I didn't get it as a child, but I got it this time that obviously he knows what's going to happen in the film
Yeah.
because he's the Malfoy's servant.
Yeah.
I get that now. 20 years later.
I'm glad you get that now. That's good. I'm glad you picked up on that.
You remember things the way you remembered it at
Oh
the
yeah,
time.
absolutely, yeah.
So if he just told Harry what the plot was, it would have been a lot quicker. But I get it's a story.
But he can't though. I think it's more a case that he can't give things away.
But he
I
does
think it's
a lot of
magical.
other bad things and
he's-
just irons his hands for it and he gets away with it. So I don't know why he couldn't just say something.
But he's bound by magic. He can't tell him that.
okay.
I think that's why he can't just give
It's
it away.
magic. Yeah, I just don't know if I like Dobby very much.
Oh, Matt.
People find Dobby very cute. I don't find Dobby that cute.
I think you're going to lose some fans there, Matt.
He's just a bit ugly.
I love Dobby.
Yeah.
I think he's a great character.
I like him after this film, but all the way through he's very frustrating. He's just causing all these things to happen, not explaining to Harry why. I just find that very annoying.
But he's got this innocence, like he thinks these things will work. Like, this will make him stop going, to Hogwarts, and he's just trying to help. But he does, but he's doing it with the best of intentions.
Yeah. Speaking of problems, Quidditch again. He's
he's interfering. They really opened it up in this. They upped the ante with the Quidditch for the second one. There's much higher stakes.
Yeah.
And bringing in that rivalry between Harry and Draco, which is so big anyway.
And these brooms. Ugly brooms, by the way. But another reason Lucius is kind of hated. Hated, yeah. And the supremacy isn't just an ideology; it's a material thing as well.
And Hermione says it, doesn't she? That they bought their way in.
Yeah. Can they do that? Does everyone else have to just use the school brooms? Does everyone have their own brooms? I don't know. More questions.
Yeah, I think I'm not entirely sure how it works. I can't remember.
And where's Madam Hooch?
Yeah.
Bludger's gone rogue. Everyone's noticed apart from her. She's just eating a Solero somewhere.
Yeah, that's another thing, that the bigger the books got, the more things were dropped.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like Quidditch in this one. Yeah, really. And they built that trench. We'll talk about it in episode 2 because they how they evolved the things that they made in the first one.
Yeah.
They dug this trench. Well, it's not real, obviously, but they made a trench around the Quidditch pitch so that him and Malfoy could go in and get tripped up.
Yeah. I just want to jump into, like we were saying about the race things there, that we mentioned earlier, the eating slugs part for Ron. It's a funny moment, but it leads into an important discussion. Again, it's like you were saying, these leads that are going to be picked up later.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very deep theme for a kid's
Is this the Hagrid
film.
and Hermione part?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this scene.
It really is serious tone.
Yeah.
It's from something very funny beforehand, but it makes the film more serious. I think it adds that extra dimension.
Yeah, and there are sort of messages in the film, as much as it is about magic and spells and, a man with a funny face.
Yeah.
It's that blending with our own reality, just because they're using a different word for it. Mudblood doesn't mean much to us, but in their world, that's the worst kind of insult.
Yeah, you can tell there's something about it, though, can't you? There's something about the word that works. It has that power behind it.
Yeah, it definitely becomes a massive theme. Just jumping back to the Whomping Willow and the car. So the car ejects them and then goes into the forest. I don't really know why. I couldn't work out whether that was the car doing that. I thought at some point maybe Dobby was doing it. I don't know, just because he was controlling so much. But that leads us kind of into the Forbidden Forest later on and what happens there.
Again, great moments.
J.K. Rowling said this was the part that she was most worried about because she said she's seen spiders done in films in the past and it's never quite realistic or it's come across a bit funny. But she said she was really impressed. With how
it is. This is like genuinely scary. I still don't really watch it properly. That scene all the way through. I can't. I am terrified of spiders. I am Ron. In fact, I think Ron's better than me because I'd have been like, "Fuck that."
He did quite
you
well.
Go,
yeah,
I'll stay here while you go ask, and I'll meet you back. I was like, there's all these spiders. Let's follow the spiders. I'd have like, fuck off. Go yourself.
No, thank you.
There's just no way you'd have got me doing that. So he's actually much better than me.
I did have a question about when it comes to being attacked by the spiders. Ron says, do you know any spells? And he says, 1, you've literally just been in a dueling club.
Just one.
Using several. I only know 1 for spiders. Sorry,
I think one big enough that would just do the job. Thing is, it is one of the things I always question is how do they know these ones? Like, where are they getting these spells from?
Well, that one he heard in the diary sequence, didn't he? He heard Tom Riddle doing it, but he knows other spells, like even Flipendo. I mean, look at the video game.
Yeah.
That's the one you use all the time.
Yeah, Riddle's diary sequence itself is very different. It has a very different feel to it.
Yeah.
Than the rest of the film. And it's interesting
I
the way
like
they
it.
did it. Yeah, it's otherworldly, isn't it? You can tell you're in this other space.
It's like you're on the parchment of the book. I quite like that. But Jesus Christ, I mean, how old is Dumbledore now then?
I know.
50 years ago,
But
like
he looked pretty old then.
Yeah. The stuff with Hagrid I think is really interesting in this film because he is really quite a
He's the fall
main
guy.
character. Yeah, he was sort of the scapegoat for opening the Chamber of Secrets for 50 years, and no one ever knew who actually did it. I mean, he was expelled. He,
but it was
stop using his
Dumbledore that
magic.
let him stay.
Yeah,
That and that shows why he's got that deep affection for Dumbledore and the reason that he is completely and utterly loyal to him, because his life would have been it.
but not until 50 years. I mean, again, how old's Hagrid? 50 years later, did he actually get a pardon, sort of?
He must be, what, about 63?
No idea.
Like that.
It doesn't seem that old, but yeah, maybe giants age differently as well. But that first time Hagrid gets some recognition for actually being a decent human being. Mm-hmm. I know we're kind of jumping ahead, but that last scene where they just clap for him is one of the best scenes in these earlier films, I gotta say.
Yeah, that's my moment. You've jumped ahead. That's my moment.
You took mine earlier, so
I'll
tell you what it was.
That is my moment. I love it.
Yeah,
I think the Chamber of Sequence. It's Chamber of
Sequence.
I can't talk today. Honestly, I can't talk. The Chamber of Secrets sequence is brilliant. I think that whole thing is really great.
Frightening. The actual Chamber of Secrets as a plot, I really like it. But it sounds awful because it's obviously really well written, because all of the elements of the film tie up and they come into place somehow within this plot.
Oh,
but
God.
It's just a bit too convenient for me.
I remember reading the book and getting to the bit where he writes Tom Marvolo riddle, and then I was literally, I was like, I was reading so fast, I was skipping sentences. I had to jump back because I was reading that quickly. I remember the excitement of that and just that reveal.
Yeah,
it was like, oh my God.
Yeah, that part I actually quite like, considering it is just an anagram.
Again, the casting was fantastic. That actor playing Tom Riddle was brilliant, and it's unfortunate, obviously, because we're in real time, can't just keep him like that forever. But it's a shame they couldn't use him again, because he was brilliant. He was perfect.
The fact he was that kind of prefect-y, perfect,
and nobody suspected a thing.
Face value. But for me, we get the mandrakes in this film, we get Fawkes in this film, we see the Sorting Hat, we see Ron's wand breaking.
Yeah, all those little things.
It's a little bit too convenient for me. Things almost happen just by coincidence and magically resolve everything. It's great writing, but in the film, as an adult, I think it's just a bit too perfect.
Well, I think this is where there's certain parts they might have cut out, but they're in the book.
Yeah.
So you have to,
No, I totally agree. It's just the translation of it. I think in the book it's like, but the film's not so much. Thank God for water, cameras, reflections, and ghosts. I mean, thank God. But just everything's a little bit too planned and perfect. Do you know what I mean? I think it's a murder mystery. I want to believe that something's actually really going to happen, but I'm like, well, no, there'll be some water. It'll be fine.
Especially I just think the end of the movie, the Chamber of Secrets set itself is absolutely brilliant. I mean, it really sets the tone of like where you are, how you feel, that part of the film.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think they did an absolutely superb job with that.
And again, they have to segue in the founders of Hogwarts, because that'll come back around again later on.
Yeah, and that whole set, it's like, that's how I imagined it in my head. I really did feel that was it. So when you see it, you're like, oh my God, that's it.
Yeah.
All of the tunnels and the dark.
Yeah. And then the basilisk, I gotta say, I don't remember it being that scary, but in the cinema I must have been shitting myself, because that was really frightening. Proper jump scares as well.
Oh, absolutely.
I had a gripe about the basilisk though. The look of it, great. The actual listening to it in the walls, not so much for fan. It's a bit like, let me rip you, let me kill you, I smell blood. And then you see this really frightening snake. It's like, I don't
There's
believe you said
certain
that.
there's certain things in the film that I think are really, really well done. Like the Polyjuice potion, the effects for that. I thought the acting, the
Of
two
course,
kids,
yeah.
Crabbe and Goyle playing Ron and Harry, I think
Yeah.
that was brilliant. They did that very well.
I think the transformation effects
I
were
think
quite good.
Gilderoy Lockhart, all of his scenes, that's all done really well. There's loads of, for the most part, I think the film's great. I only had one gripe, really, I think,
Just
for
one?
the most
I've got
part.
so many.
Yeah, there's just one that
So many.
has always really bothered me, and it's because it's so integral to the character, is Neville fainting with the mandrakes. Because he is useless at everything except herbology.
Oh, I
Herbology
see.
is
Yeah.
his subject, and he's always taken to it really well. And he becomes the herbology teacher
Yeah,
at
in the
Hogwarts.
epilogue, yeah.
You know, so
Yeah, and he did have his earmuffs on properly.
yeah, it's always bothered me because that would not have happened because that's his subject. It's the one thing that he's really good at.
Yeah, never
So
noticed
it's always bothered me that they made him faint because I was Neville.
I was busy thinking about how Dumbledore didn't see through Lockhart either.
I know, yeah.
Great wizard, never misses a trick.
I think they
got
just
a fraud teacher.
I think
and
everybody
Voldemort.
just thinks he's absolutely pathetic, don't they? Like, oh well, that's fine, Gilderoy. We'll leave it to you. You can, you know.
But again, it's almost like Dumbledore knew, and he just kind of enjoyed it. It's like, what can I do? He sits at the beginning of every school year, going, "What can I do this time?"
None of the students are going to learn anything this year.
Will they die this year? Don't know. So just before we do our character moment and quote, again, I do have a big pile of burning questions.
Go on then.
Did no one ever think to ask Myrtle how she died? I mean, they would have found out a lot quicker.
I know.
Harry's the only one who bothered. And literally she just said, yeah, big pair of eyes over there.
I mean, yeah, she stayed, so she was there all that time. The teachers will have known. Nobody ever uses that bathroom because she's there. So obviously they knew she was around. Nobody bothered to ask.
And do you have to have died in the castle to be a ghost? Don't know. Who took the photo of Ron, Harry and Hermione for the photo album? Don't know. Why does Ron have sellotape in a world where spells are used to get rid of sellotape?
No, it's not sellotape, it's spellotape.
I'll take that one off then.
That's what it's called.
But in a world where Hermione can fix things with sellotape on them.
Ah, yes, but you can't fix a wand. When a wand's broken, it's broken because it's the core.
And it was broken for a whole year.
I know, but he can't afford a new one. They've got no money.
I don't know. He also couldn't do any spells or any classes. Maybe they could have loaned him one.
You would think that would be an issue, and maybe the school would have said, right, okay, he needs a wand, so we'll pay towards one, and you can pay us back in instalments. Something like
Some
that.
kind of scheme for that, yeah. Speaking of the lessons, though, I think they're a bit pointless. It's like, we're going to repot these mandrakes. So it's more useless than like our school. Like, here's some fractions. You'll use this later. Turn this animal into a water goblet. I'll need that. Yeah, the only other two I had was, why does Lucius try to kill Harry? Just
I know,
broad daylight in the middle of the school.
I was thinking that. I was watching it and I thought,
really?
like, how would you have got away with that?
Yeah, part of me thinks maybe Jason Isaacs was improvising and they kept it in, but it did seem very deliberate.
Yeah, it is unusual because why on earth would you do that? It doesn't make any sense at all.
The last one was Dobby being freed. Like, if you're gifted a sock or a piece of clothes, then you free them. But what's the rules around accidentally handing someone a book with a sock in? I mean, surely house elves would get freed every time they did the washing. By that logic, every time they touch something that belonged to someone else, that'd just be...
No, if it's handed to you by your owner, I think that's how it works. Your bond is broke. Yeah, but it was still there. The clothing, I just
feel like there'd be house elves accidentally getting freed just all over the place. And knowing Dobby, he'd probably, like, if someone dropped a bra, he'd probably run and try and catch it and go, I'm free.
I don't think there's that many house elves that
well, there's a big
for
plot
families.
about Hermione trying to free them at one point.
Yeah, but they're the ones that work at Hogwarts. Like, there'll be different types of them, but I don't think there'll be loads of them about because there aren't as many old rich wizarding families anymore, and they tend to work for that the best class with lots of money have a house elf. So I don't think they'll be that common.
Yeah. Anyway, I was just thinking about it because I thought, how are we defining given a sock?
Dobby is free.
So let's look at, I'll start this time. Favourite characters or shout-outs? I thought Lucius Malfoy was very good. But I've got to say Ron was the standout for me in this. He has a lot
Okay.
to do, and I think he's very funny. I think the fact that his voice was breaking.
Oh, the pair of them. Oh, so
yes.
funny. So funny.
I was expecting Hermione to also open her mouth
Up
and be
and
like,
down
hello.
and up and down.
But I think that added to the comedy of him and what he had to
God,
do.
they must hate watching those movies now if it ever comes on and they see it. They must, oh, my voice. Oh, God.
But yeah, I really liked Ron. Favorite moment? You touched on it. I think it's the moment between Hagrid and Hermione.
Yeah, that's a lovely moment.
Yeah, I really like that. And he says, "Don't you think on it for a minute."
Yeah.
And then also the clapping at the end, which I know you're going to mention.
Yeah, that is lovely.
Favorite quote? Again, there's lots of one-liners in this. They do give a
How
lot of.
thick could you get?
Yeah. I think I'm gonna. I like the one where Professor Sprout says, "Yes, well, just leave him there." And I like Gilderoy Lockhart just throwing out random quotes that don't really mean anything. He's like, "Celebrity is as celebrity does," and he goes, "Remember that." And then no, the one I'm going to go with is when Draco sees Harry as Goyle and says, "I didn't know you could read."
Yeah, I like that one. I do like
my
that
favourite
one. There's two for me. I find them. I just cannot pick. The first one is Ron. It's like, why spiders? Why couldn't you follow the butterflies?
Yeah.
I love that. That's brilliant. And the other one is actually because he just does it so well. Is between Kenneth Branagh and Ron at the end there. And he's just like, hello.
Hello.
Who are you? Really? And who am I? Odd sort of place this. Do you live here? I just think he does it so well, and I just can't help. Every time I just howl laughing.
It's the hello for me. Hello.
Hello.
It's very good.
Really, there are some really funny bits. And
Yeah.
again,
Maybe one of the funniest of the films.
I think Filch is a very funny character.
He's so funny.
It's funny. I think they made him stupid towards the end. That like the run in the fourth one. We'll get to that. But in the first few, he is funny.
Yeah, no, I really like him.
For me, it's a toss up. It would for standout character, it would be either Dobby or Lucius Malfoy.
Okay.
Because they both like cemented themselves in the series.
Yeah.
They're both very strong, memorable
and so
characters.
many supporting characters came in this one.
Yeah. And in very different ways, because Dobby we just instantly love and Malfoy we just love to hate.
Yeah.
So
I'll agree with you on
between
Lucius.
them.
He would have been my second.
Yeah, I think he really did do a fantastic job.
Yeah.
To the point where I think they just tried to get him in there.
Yeah.
Like in the series, like, just bring Jason back. Get him in there because he'll do a good scene.
Oh, you said your favourite moment was the clapping at the
Yes,
end?
I did. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it always makes
it's
me cry at the end
emotional.
of the movie.
And it's the only time really Hagrid gets any kind of like recognition. And like I said, it's been 50 years for him, and I feel like it should have been even bigger than that.
Yeah.
Like, someone apologise.
It's a lovely moment. It really works.
And John Williams' music coming back is just fantastic.
Great way to end the movie. Perfect ending, I think, for that one.
Really good.
And it's almost, it makes me think as well, it's like almost at the end of an era because Richard Harris died, Chris Columbus didn't come back.
Yeah.
The tone completely changes after that. So,
Yeah.
and knowing all that, as a fan, it is kind of like closing a door when you get to the end of that one and it pulls out.
It makes it
and
such an interesting franchise, and it's going to be the topic of the next episode, that how it evolved and how it had to evolve because of the changes that were made, and obviously it gets very different from Prisoner of Azkaban onwards.
Wait till you see. It's awful.
I really enjoyed talking through those.
I know.
And there's so much to say. It's testament to how detailed everything is that we can pull it apart like that.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most impressive thing about it in terms of filmmaking is what they were able to create. The set design is amazing. Production design
you just believe
is
that it's
something
real,
else.
don't you?
Yeah.
It's not a set of Diagon Alley. It's just they're in Diagon Alley.
You
they're in the
believe
castle.
these places are real, and you believe these characters because the casting was so well done, and that's hard when you've got a series of books, the first 3 of which were already out when the first film came out, and the fourth book to come out by the time the second one had come out. You've got these characters, they're ingrained in people's heads. They love these characters. They're reading about them all the time over and over
years.
And then you've got to and then you've got to then cast the characters, and people have already got their ideas of what they are,
Yeah.
that's really hard. So for them to come in and you to just accept that they are these characters, that is that testament to what they've been able to do with it.
Yeah. No, it's brilliant. And it's something that we'll carry on talking about over the next film. So just to finish off on this one, just to have a bit of a to jump back to looking at the whole series, and obviously at the beginning we talked about the process of adapting the books and what they decided to keep in and omit. We've looked at the deleted scenes from the series in like a jumbo 1 hour YouTube video.
Yeah. I don't think that's got all of them in. I think there's a few
I had a feeling there
missing.
may be 1 or 2 missing.
Yeah,
but I think
there's
it's
a few missing.
most of them are there. So we thought we'd just pick the ones that we like the most.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway from watching them all was how well it was edited, because not one of the deleted scenes that I watched I felt like
belonged
in
the film.
Really, they deleted the right things. The films are fine without them, and they're I do think they did a really good job.
Yeah, I think if anything, they were removed because the quality of them wasn't that great, and they really would have stood out. Although it is unfortunate because of, especially in the later books, where there were some details that were kind of skipped over, and the detail we needed was actually in those deleted scenes. It is a bit of a shame that later on some of the story becomes a bit, who's got a son? Who's married to who?
We'll get to that. Yeah, we will get to that because I've got a funny story about that.
But apart from that, so I think we've done a top 3.
Yes.
Each.
So
what's your number 3?
My number 3 would have to be it's in the last film in part 2, and Ron and Hermione when they're running down the stairs and I've got something to tell you, and she's like, don't tell me just because we're running away from a snake that's probably going to kill me, because it won't feel the same.
Yeah, and we all know what he was going to say.
Yeah, of course. But I thought that was funny, and I just, by that point I was so invested in them two. You were just waiting for these things.
Yeah, I think the films had played up their relationship a lot earlier than the books had.
Yes, absolutely.
I think from 5, maybe even 4 onwards. 3 onwards.
Well, actually, no, 2, because at the end of 2, he doesn't hug her, does he?
Yeah.
They're like, they just shake hands. Point. So there's always, like, even from book 2.
Maybe even number 1, the whole bickering and the, fighting about the troll. And
I think that it's definitely the feeling that you get that there's something going to happen is definitely that at the end of 2, and then in 3 there's the like grabbing hold of a hand and they're a bit nervous about each other,
which is funny because J.K. Rowling kept so much close to her chest. Even at this point we didn't know if, like, I think she was going to kill Ron at one point, at the end of the book, so she must have kind of known that their relationship at least was going to go
given them something to go off.
My number 3 I've picked from The Order of the Phoenix, and it's very small and very subtle, but it's the moment in Hogwarts after Sirius has died and Harry's on his own towards the end of the year, and Ron comes in sort of trying to comfort him and ask him, are you coming down to the feast? And he just says, no, I just don't really feel like it. And he sort of goes, okay. And he goes back down, and Hermione and Ron look at each other.
Yeah.
And the two of them are kind of like, they put on their face and they smile and go, sometimes they just know to leave him alone. And I quite like that.
Yeah. It shows the development of that friendship. It's so much more than this shallow thing that this is a deep relationship between these three. They know each other so well.
And this added some gravity to the fact that Sirius had died as well, and what he actually meant to Harry in the end, because I think some people were a bit peeved that they didn't give it that much time.
You don't get enough time at the beginning of number 5. Now again, it's to do with the size of the books and we'll get onto it, but you're rushed through things, and there's obvious consequences with that because you don't quite get the emotional impact that you might have done. So it does definitely have an effect. So number 2 for me is, again, it's to do with Ron and Hermione, and it's the skipping stones scene.
I put that as my number 5.
I just thought there's something really sweet about it. And by that point I was just like, come on already. So if that was in there I would have been,
I think and then one of the reasons I really like Deathly Hallows Part 1 is because they have these smaller moments just to let them exist. Just let the characters exist and be together. Harry and Hermione dancing, we'll get into that a lot later on, but I really like that scene as well.
Yeah.
So I'll agree with you on that one. I'll put it as my number 5, just because it was, I didn't believe that they were acting. That's the only thing. I just felt like they could have just been playing, but that's good. That's good. My number 2 is from the same film, Deathly Hallows Part 1. I've always said this would be my number 1, but I've moved it slightly, and it's it kind of comes in 2 parts. It's the goodbye to the Dursleys, but specifically the Petunia moment. Very small moment, and it just gives a bit of humanity to her.
Yeah, absolutely. It was well needed. Yeah.
She says, do you think I don't know what they're capable of? You didn't just lose a mother that night. I lost a sister. And I think it's the first time Harry's actually thought about it that way.
Yeah. Spoiler, that is my number 1 moment.
Oh.
I thought that was it's the only moment I felt really could have added something to a character.
I've always thought, why on earth did they do that? The other part where it's outside with Vernon and Dudley, I think you could kind of, it wasn't very well acted, I don't think.
Yeah,
you could probably get
away with it.
But I think it gave the Dursleys something. Do you know what I mean? Just some kind of humanity at the end of it all.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't get it.
At the end of the day, I mean, what they also didn't show, which they should have shown, I think, as well, when they do the flashbacks in the last film and show Petunia and Lily as children.
Yeah.
In the book, she desperately wanted to go. She wrote to Dumbledore asking to take her.
Right.
So she didn't hate her sister. She just wanted to be her. She wanted that opportunity as well. She wanted to be magic, and that just became bitter and twisted as she got older and married someone so anti, anything like that.
Yeah,
I think it developed that way.
Yeah.
So and I always miss that they didn't put that in as well, because that would have changed your idea of Petunia as well and the person that she is.
One thing like I said, we'll talk about it much later on, but that idea that maybe they weren't as bad as they seemed, it was just because Harry was there. My number 1, and I only discovered this like last year. It's from Half-Blood Prince, and it's just a moment to slow things down, and it's right before the scene when Dumbledore dies, and it's just a moment, and it's got the choir in, who typically in the films I don't really like, but they're doing this really nice sort of choral thing. I don't know who composed it, but it's great. And like the clouds are gathering, people know something's not quite right, but they don't know what's going to happen. Like kids are looking at the sky, McGonagall's telling them to go back inside, and Snape, knowing what he's about to do, is just stood like staring. You see Malfoy
moments, isn't it?
As well.
Impending
Malfoy knowing that he's
doom.
about to do it. In fact, Malfoy's worse in a way, because he was meant to be the one to do the deed, and he's lying in bed, a frightened boy,
Which is what he was deep down.
Yeah, I think it's really good, and the music's fantastic. The song's called In Noctem, which I think means into darkness, but honestly, it's really, really, really impressive bit of music from the series. It wasn't in the film, so yeah.
Very good. So that's it. That's episode 1.
Yeah,
on Harry Potter. You've got another 3 coming up.
We said it'd be comprehensive. I mean,
yeah.
Probably leave it on a bit of a cliffhanger. Next time, though, we'll be looking at the evolution of the series, especially with different directors coming in, different styles, even different composers of the music, which will form part of our closing section next time. We're going to look at our favourite tracks from the score, and
we look forward to seeing you then.
Yeah, if you've liked it, please like or comment or whatever you want to do. What don't you agree with? Do you like Dobby?
Do you have any gripes?
Is Dumbledore evil? Anyway, so yeah, looking forward to the next one. That was really exciting.
Yeah. So Matt, where can they find us?
You can find us literally anywhere if you search for CineChat podcast, including the website cinechat.co.uk/podcast, or you can email us, and please do in a minute now. Send an owl.
It's podcast at cinechat.co.uk.
That's the one. So yeah, until next time.
Go away!
It's bye for me.
Nighty night. Sleep tight, whatever Filch would say. Oh.